Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. I'm honored to be moderating today's session on topic strategic solutions for energy storage projects, overcoming barriers from development to deployment. Before we start, I will just speak a few words why our topic is important and a timely one. As we know and as we heard all morning that energy storage is no longer nice to have, but rather it's an essential piece of puzzle in the energy transition. Without it, unfortunately, we cannot unlock the full potential of our precious renewable energy sources. Yet, despite the growing demand and remarkable technological developments that we have been hearing, storage projects are still facing with many headwinds, from regulatory uncertainties to permitting delays, financial risks to grid integration challenges. Therefore, I believe the question isn't anymore if we need energy storage, but it is how we can accelerate its rollout in a way that it's smart, scalable, and equitable. We will try to explore that today with our panelists. We are very fortunate to have very fantastic group of experts on the stage. Each brings a unique perspective from across value chain. I would suggest we start with a short round of introduction where each panelist will introduce themselves and their companies. And from there, we will dive into some core challenges and strategic solutions which could make a difference in Germany, across Europe, and if time allows us, which I don't think, but maybe globally. And after all, we will open the floor for your questions. I don't know, since I'm holding the microphone, maybe I can start from myself. My name is Rezzan Güzel. I'm an electrical engineer. Currently, I'm managing grid and battery energy storage solution division of 𝐒𝐭𝐫𝒆𝒍, in English, HGC Elektrotechnik. 𝐒𝐭𝐫𝒆𝒍 has been providing electrical engineering solution over 34 years. 3 years ago, we have been through an internal transition where we made our decision that we will be focusing more on renewable energy sector. And since then, we are providing end-to-end EPC solutions for grid infrastructure, battery energy storage, and solar project, from initial concept and engineering to commissioning and beyond, covering O&M and asset management. We are working closely with the grid operators, investors, and also so that gives us a unique opportunity to see all those challenges from different stakeholders face. And today I brought some of them with me, and I will direct them to our panelists, and hopefully we will address them together. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm also happy that some of the lost audience is returning to the hall. It's good. My name is Jan Fousek. Thank you for the invitation. I am CEO of Czech Energy Storage Association, and also I'm chairman of Czech Solar Association. I have been in the energy business for 17 years. And first about 8 or 9 years I spent in energy trading and emissions trading business. So I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm an educated economist, and I'm in the energy business for 17 years now in renewables and storage.
Hi, I'm Joachim. I'm CEO of Klimaten. We are an EPC working across Germany on both photovoltaic and BESS and e-mobility, and doing basically turnkey project construction and procurement.
Hello, my name is Anoucheh, and I'm working with 𝐴BO Energy. We are a project developer for PV, wind, and storage projects with a track record of more than 300 projects since the mid of 1990s, where the company was founded. We are a German company, but we are active in 16 countries worldwide, and I am leading here the market and strategy team for the storage projects.
My name is Michael Schweiger. I'm the founder of Solar TRANSACT. It's a M&A and transaction management company working in Europe and focusing entirely on renewables transactions. Our strongest asset classes are PV and battery storage. Battery storage have becoming increasingly popular during the last 2 years, and right now we are working on 20 battery storage projects in parallel, most of them located in Italy, in Germany, in Poland and Romania.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer and legal counsel in the energy and climate protection law. I'm working for Sunrock Germany, heading the legal department there. And Sunrock is a developer and operator of large solar system in the C&I market, currently also looking into opportunities for storage in the Netherlands on a solar, next to the solar fields, and also in Germany co-located. My name is Sophia Truong, happy to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. So Farid Komati, I work at AFRI Management Consulting, 10 years so far in the business. At AFRI, I'm responsible for all the projects that regards battery storage. We're talking about strategies, transactions, or the organizational transformation of the companies we work with. And I've had the chance to work across the value chain with different type of players. So I'll bring my insights to this discussion today.
So as I said, a great asset on the stage. So I have some chronological questions, so I will start from the development challenges. As we all know, in the early stage of the storage project, developers have to go through some important steps, securing land, getting grid connection, obtaining building permit. My first question will be, where do you see the biggest delays in each of those areas? So let's start with the land use and then go for the grid connection, and ask to Anoucheh, maybe you can start. Would you like to start?
Sure. So this is our daily business. In Germany, as you know, there is a very long queue of projects in the grid permitting process. The numbers are still growing. Of course, the question is now which of these projects are actually at which maturity stage and which of those will actually be developed and built. This brings a big challenge in the delay to get the grid connection. So we initially had a cap of 18 months to get grid connection permits. Now we see in some instances delays which can take you to 3 years. That's a long time. It also delays the time to market of storage assets, which, as you know, when you look at energy markets, is a very important factor of the business case. So that's the first thing we see. And there is also now changing rules regarding grid connections with so-called flexibility connection agreements, which are now proposed by the grid operators. And we see there opportunities for different types of projects, maybe, where co-located projects make more sense in some instances than standalone projects. So this is one of the ways to sort of go around the grid connection issue. But definitely, I would say the main challenge is really to figure out what each grid connection operator wants. And with these so-called flexibility connection agreements and the grid friendliness rules that they also bring as a parameter to grant you grid access, to have a very fair, good understanding of what that means in terms of hours availability for your asset to be able to have a business case which reflects and stands.
Thank you. I guess
Yeah, thank you, Anoucheh. I think I can add some points on the land permitting, discussions with developers, what we hear. First of all, you can come and meet a very negotiator, German, most of them owns the land and agricultural lands, so they're farmers, and they want to negotiate. And good luck if you want to negotiate in English. He has a hidden bias to speak German. So if you don't have German local developers, that's one of the biggest barriers to find land. The second one is you're also competing with data centers, which have higher purchasing power. Usually, if you're talking about Microsoft or these companies, they would pay a higher euro per meter square. You have the real estate project developers also. So I think this is a little bit on the barrier side of land permitting. On the grid connection, just to add on what Anoucheh said, the other barrier is once you get your grid connection, you might get a little surprise called grid reinforcement measures. Grid reinforcement measures can sometimes delay your COD, so you need to be aware of which grid connection you're applying to, and will there be a grid reinforcement measure. That a little bit can differentiate the good developers from the less good maybe. And the 𝐒𝐵𝒂𝒏𝒆𝒍 also in Germany, the Baukostenzuschuss is a nice top-up capex between 40 to 140 kilo euros per megawatt. Can destroy your business case if you don't know where to apply. So these are a little bit some of the barriers.
Thank you so much. I guess for the building permit, I guess Sophia can add more.
Yes, and there are a few key issues that may lead in an early stage of development, like the building permit, to a bottleneck and then to delays. Firstly, I would see that there is a lack of standardized procedure in the permitting. So unlike solar and wind, BESS is not clearly categorized in the permitting system. So you may have with your project the requirement to bring in a BIMSCH permit, so a permit for your emissions, or you need to follow the building code permit procedure, or maybe both. That's then something you first have to figure out. Secondly, for very practical reasons, you may face inexperience and also capacity constraints when it comes to local authorities. So we do have had a case where we had a local building authorities not approachable for several months due to illness. Then they just closed up the whole authority for that one. So that's something which actually do happen in local authorities. And but where I do see like the largest point where your building permit may lead to delays are the zoning restrictions. So the land use plans may not categorize the BESS as a use class already. So there is a requirement then to change and to amend the land use, which means you have to go to the local municipalities and you have to really dig into local politics, which is then maybe back to the end. You have to know German, you have to maybe be in the Schützenverein and have a good connection to one and the other of the politicians locally.
Yeah. But everybody is here, I guess, being in a wind or the solar sector. If we look at the bigger picture, are there any lessons that we can borrow from the wind or solar sector for streamlining the storage projects? Jan, maybe, would you like to?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm the right one to speak, since we legally anchored energy storage only a few months ago, and it will be valid since 1st of October. But yes, in solar, we managed to start at least solving the problem. We have new construction law, which here my colleague Jiří is responsible for. So yes, it's easier. Solar became a public interest building, which made things easier, and that's where we try to replicate the same for energy storage when the energy law and its update is open again. So that's what we try for. But where we all probably share the same constraints are we call it speculative reservations in the grid, which negatively influence both solar and storage. So just for your thoughts, we have about 4.5 gigawatts of solar installed. We expect something about 10 gigawatts to be in total connected till 2030, and we have 32 gigawatts under the agreements only of solar. So it's like multiple times, and of course there is not only a problem for solar, but the same problem comes for storage, and we need to take care of it. And we are now in the middle of process of speaking with politicians, DSOs, TSO, and Energy Regulatory Office to take care of it.
Yep, thank you so much. I guess.
Yeah, and maybe
ahead, Sophia.
yeah, maybe I may add on my suggestion to tackle some of the permitting issues we just currently discussed is that you should rather treat, and then from our developers' perspective, you should rather treat the permitting as a stakeholder management exercise rather than a just pure bureaucracy process. You really should have the aim to tackle the unknown on a very early stage and then over-communicate locally to really smooth the surface before really the time frame then kicks in.
Yep. Because since we have very limited time, I want to also now let's take a closer look at the financial and market models. The question would be, what business models are emerging that make storage bankable at the moment? Yeah, Michael, I guess you are the...
Yeah, actually a couple of business models emerged. I think to make projects bankable, one very simple aspect is to diversify risk. And here the co-located projects have a certain advantage, not necessarily with regards to the profitability, but with regards to the risk diversification, which makes it then more appealing for banks and risk-averse investors. But recently, the first large utility-scale batteries that were implemented in the UK and in Germany have seen a tolling model. It's nothing totally new, but let's say these, I think 200 megawatt battery system from Nofar. A colleague was here before. They have a tolling model which makes this bankable. The cash flows are easy to predict, and that's what exactly, let's say, PPAs achieve. So I think making a project bankable, a co-located, if you have a long-term PPA for the PV solar plant, if you have a tolling model for the battery storage system, it's a solid bankable asset that can be easily sold to insurance companies and institutional investors. But apart from this, let's say if we stick to the standalone battery storage systems, other developments have been occurred. One is that you actually go not just for a single revenue stream model, but you go into all different types of market segments, so-called cross-market strategies of algo traders who can, when doing this right, earn really nice profits that are so high that I think every debt provider is simply providing it because the business case is so attractive. But as we heard before, here time to market is again important and key, because in the future the revenues will decline for several reasons. Apart from this, of course, governmental support is always very helpful. If you look to the European landscape, not many countries have provided these support mechanisms, but in these countries where the governments have done a good job, the BESS markets are really booming. And from my perspective, the UK market, the German market, and the Italian market are the three most advanced. And here we have different support schemes. If we look, for example, to Italy, they introduced the Maxi scheme, and this boosts the development of 4- and 8-hour systems in southern Italy in the highly congested regions, and solves the problem that a country with a lot of renewables now is able to manage the grid constraints somehow, or not only the grid constraints, but the volatility in the energy market. So these are good examples. What else do we have? Of course, the ancillary services are probably not the highest profitability market, but still a solid market, which is in place in some countries already for a long term, and helpful to increase the installations of BESS systems. There might be more, but I don't want to talk forever and pass the word on to the colleagues or to the next question.
Yeah, Farid, I guess you want to add.
I can add some insight also on the business models and the merchant case and toll fee. I mean, to keep it simple, You have the merchant case, so that means the bank needs to lend you money believing that you as a battery will make everyday money. There is no safety, but you're going to make everyday money. How do you give this safety to the bank? You go to an advisor, he has a very nice model, and he projects the bankability, or he projects the revenues, he does a cross-market, we do ancillary services and arbitrage, and then we project the revenue curves. That's one way. The other way is the toll fee agreements. The toll fee means you sign with a trader, let's say an example, ENGIE, Vattenfall, or these big traders who have big balance sheets. They are willing to take the risk and give you a fixed contract, 7 years, $130,000 or $140,000 per megawatt, and you're going to get this money, you have de-risked yourself, and Vattenfall is going to go and market the battery, whatever they do on top, they're going to keep, it's the profit. Now, what is the barrier for toll fees is that they actually just want big batteries. They want 100 megawatt batteries and above. What does this mean for the small batteries? It means for the small batteries, it's more difficult to get financing. There's now new solutions, new startups in Germany that are developing solutions to aggregate batteries, small batteries, put them in one big platform, call it a virtualization of batteries, and then there's the Vattenfall, the RWE, that are going to come and sign one agreement with this startup, and this startup is going to basically offer virtual tolls, and that is a new offering in Germany. It's actually published today. It's TerraLayer and ENGIE, TerraLayer and Vattenfall, excuse me, have decided to go in such an agreement. You can check online. It's quite an interesting offering to basically allow the small batteries, the 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt, 15 megawatt, to get this like fixed revenue streams. And I think it's an interesting development in Germany, and maybe we're going to see it in other countries.
Yeah, thank you so much. We heard some examples in UK, Italy, and German market. I want to ask, like, how is it in Czech market? I guess you can give us more insights about Czech market.
Since all energy storage projects are collocated at the moment, but we have gigawatts already in pipeline for standalone batteries already, because we have been waiting for the legislation for a long time. We have the subsidy scheme already up and running for 2 weeks already. Unfortunately, investment one only, because Czech Republic is, by the way, just a short curve after these solar barons, first the heat wave in 2009 and 2010. All the politicians throughout this political spectrum are very cautious on CFDs, any kind of auctions for solar as well as for storage. So we have only investment support, but it's still quite good. And the existing as well as the future one, and unfortunately also the gigawatts of future ones, believe that they will take part mostly in ancillary services. And it's, of course, our job as well, not to educate in media and the politicians, but also to give the educations towards our members from your more mature markets, that it's not the only stream we have, and that they should concentrate on, let's say, UK and German model, especially the toll system, etc. So the Czech market becomes mature as well. They start understanding it, but at the moment is ancillary services. And us, our associations, together with TSOs, we organize webinars, workshops for our members, for investors, where we keep repeating, guys, it's good if you succeed in the auctions for ancillary services, it's fine. But of course, the tenders are going to be shorter and shorter, so you don't have any fixed income, first of all. And second of all, we can accommodate only about 1 gigawatt of positive regulated energy and 370 megawatts of negative, of minus. And that's all we can give, and the rest is up to you. And we have maybe about 5 or 10 gigawatts of storage in the pipeline just being constructed at the moment.
Yeah, great. And also, Farid, you just slightly touched the point that de-risking the storage investments. My question would be also, what commercial agreements are available right now in the market for the storage to de-risking them? Like, can someone give a broader perspective in that?
I think we actually covered most of the answers for this topic before. But yeah, what we announced was, for example, the PPAs for the solar part, the tolling systems, the cross-market strategies, the ancillary service with the different segments. I believe that there will come up further business models that you mentioned before, with a more decentralized development of smaller storage facilities and PV power plants to bundle it. I've just by coincidence got two of these type of business models on the table last week, one in Austria and another one in France. Totally different people, also a bit of different approach, but the same idea. Let the users benefit from the renewable energy development, let them buy the energy, the electricity cheaper than from the utilities, and get some safety to sell the electricity. In the Austrian case, for example, was a very simple model with no capacity limit, so very small rooftop power plants, and also in the future when more BESS systems come into place, they will be integrated. They sell the energy for 9 cents per kilowatt hour, they buy it for 12. Very simple business model, I guess quite appealing. And just to mention it, their owner is actually Austria's most famous tennis star, Dominic Thiem, who retired 1 or 2 years ago. And I guess his fan club, they will all be part in this platform once they have bought a PV or BESS power plant.
Yeah, great, please go ahead.
Just quickly, in Germany today, in terms of revenues, if your battery is in the south or if your battery is in the north, your battery is going to do the same amount of money. The revenues today are locationally independent because FCR, AFR are basically as ancillary services, egal wo du bist, you will do the same money. But what's coming in Germany is locational revenue streams that are basically inertia and reactive power control. And we do see the trend that, for example, what we just was presented from Upwind, grid forming inverters are going to become more demanded in Germany because you will have to know where you want to be located, where there is congestions, where is the voltage weak in some of the grid connection points. You can offer this service. This service is very interesting and attractive because it's top on. You don't have an opportunity cost. If you offer reactive power control, you can still do the other things with active power control. So I think, coming back on the commercial arrangements, we see in the future new local revenue streams that are going to emerge in Germany, which is going to fortify the business case of batteries compared to what we do today as advisors.
Yeah, maybe just to complement on that from a developer's perspective, when you actually plan your project and you design it in the very early stage, you have to anticipate these commercial agreements. What I want to say by that is the way we develop our projects or the way we develop the portfolio, we have different use cases. And these use cases, they speak to different types of clients and they have different risk profiles, and you have to match the risk profile of the client. It means that you have to buy the battery and provide the power and capacity that is expected to deliver a certain type of revenue, and you also have to respect the technical capacities of the asset. So this means you also have warranty here that enters into play when you calculate your business case. That this warranty has to match the way your asset will be effectively operated by your very smart algo trader. And this, again, has also to match with the philosophy that is expected by our client. So maybe just sometimes I like to use this kind of image to say you can build a car, but not everybody is buying the same type of car. Some people want to have very fast-paced cars, they want to buy Ferraris, and some people want to buy a Renault.
these are both cars, but they are designed, the costs of course are different, but the design is done for a very different use. And this is the same thing that happens for storage. You have to involve, and that's what we do as a developer, you have to involve your client in the very early stage of the design. You have to co-develop actually and co-design with your client so that you make sure that the technical and financial aspects of the planning really reflects the interest and the appetite of the investor, regardless of the IR of the project.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really like the metaphor that you used to explain. It's really nice to explain that way. I want to squeeze 2 more questions, if time allows us, also from the EPC perspective, since Joachim and only me are representing EPC part. This question is to you, Joachim. What are the practical challenges that you are seeing at the EPC execution level at the moment for the storage projects?
Basically, this is a quite new development, at least in Germany, right? Like BESS is not super common so far. So what we see is in every step of the development and financing and everything, like there is not that much knowledge and deep expertise in the market, and that stacks up in the deployment, in the actual construction, right? Like we are swamped with requests from developers or investors, IPPs, that have like that throw like not really properly developed projects at us, right? So that is definitely one big challenge for us. And then again, experience, expertise in the market. Also, we like on the developer level or the installer level, right? We also don't have that many or that much capacity in terms of people actually installing the BESS on the site, right? Like we have to develop a lot here. We have way too little capacity. We see that also in solar, right? Like, but we have a lot of learning curve already. Like, it's also a very different kind of project, right? Like, solar is a you know, if you build like 100 megawatts of a solar park, it's a very different project compared to 100 megawatts of BESS, right? That's much faster. You need much less capacity in terms of installer manpower, right? So you need much more skilled capacity though. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge here for us is in deployment is actually the knowledge on each step of the funnel.
And I guess like the other problem is the lead times that we are both facing a lot with that, like especially at the critical components, which yes. We see like the power transformers and also transfer stations or 𝐒𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒏𝒆𝒍, where we see really enormous lead times, like from 15 months to 18 months, in some cases, depending on the power and the voltage level, 24 months. This is big concerns that we have, but it's something that TSO should work on it, and we already suggest some solutions, but they are still skeptical about the solutions that are coming out of the European Union, and hopefully that will change soon. The last question will be, which will also allow us to do the wrap-up. What needs to change in the grid regulations or tariffs to fairly value the flexibility that storage provides? When it comes to tariffs, maybe we can start from Sophia. Yeah.
I'm searching for the microphone to keep on for the rest of the moments to speak about all my ideas for regulatory changes. No, I try to focus on two, and firstly I try to steal one of Farid's issues you mentioned in the beginning with the Baukostenzuschuss. So the construction cost, what is it in English? Construction cost contribution, maybe. There is a regulatory rule when it comes to low voltage level, but we don't have a regulation. We don't have a rule on that on a medium or higher voltage level, which leads to a high uncertainty. So what actually happens? We do have a non-binding recommendation by the Federal Network Agency, which some of the grid operators use. But unless we have a unified unity rule there, everybody will pick his own methodology to calculate that. So there's one thing I would like to have a change in that one. And then for a grid fee exemption, for example, then also, yeah, one of the issues with the grid, we do have an exemptions for BESS, which is commissioned until 2029. That's really nice, but as we have seen, there's like a time frame which like leads to projects we develop now that it's quite hard to fit in that time frame. So we also are looking forward that this rule is extended or modified, but yeah, not there yet. I haven't seen it. But maybe Jan also, you can bring in some ideas from the Czech where we could also learn from in Germany.
Well, you know, the advantage of latecomers like Czech Republic is that you have a time to prepare things right and to take lessons and to learn. And among one of those advantages, the main ones is that we have completely banned double charging, the double counting. And double charging doesn't mean only the payments for ancillary services, but also the payment for historical solar power plants. So the tariff set up by Energy Regulatory Office in Czechia is very, I would say, very fruitful, very beneficial. That's first of all. Second of all, you don't pay for reserve capacity for connecting the project. You pay only for using the grid, which is of course natural, but you don't pay for connecting to the battery storage. And it comes because of favorable and very constructive discussion with Energy Regulatory Office as well as TSO. So again, the politicians are the biggest constraint in Czech Republic. That's why everything took so long, because of the strong co-lobby. But within last couple of years, especially those the state-owned offices like Energy Regulatory Office, etc., these are quite in favor of storage and flexibility.
Yeah, so even though the lands are changing, the countries are changing, we are still facing the same problems. That's interesting to see that.
Glad to hear.
Yeah. I would like to open the floor for your questions. If you have, please raise your hand. Someone will bring to you a microphone. In the worst case, I will bring. No questions? Please.
Hello, my name is Alexei. Thank you for fantastic overview of challenges. I'm from GB, from the UK. We are a bit way ahead, and yeah, Anoucheh, no. I want to ask exactly you and Anoucheh, from contractor and from investor perspective, what could go wrong in Germany in terms of constructing your battery storage? Because I have heard a lot of horrible stories.
With us, nothing can go wrong, but with others, I don't know.
Yeah, no advertisement.
Please, Anoucheh, you can start.
I think what could go wrong? I think if we go down a path where there is a lack of standardization of what the rules are for permitting, for grid access, that might really hinder the development process. At some point we would see this very hype that we see now in the grid connection like, completely flatten out, and some investors just losing hope on standalones. But my take on that would be that if this happens, or if you have ancillary markets which happen to saturate, and then you see you have your revenue stacking suddenly doesn't look as promising as it used to. I would still not see the death of storage there, because then you would re-put the emphasis on hybrids and co-located projects, so that you will have still a value of storage in its combination with a renewable power plants. So to me, the history that is now happening is just we just need to see with the market development, price developments on the market, but also the regulatory developments, which typology of project will actually get the biggest hype between standalones and co-location and hybrids. And I'm not very sure. I tend to say that the future might be more in the hybrids than standalones, but it's just a feeling that I get with all the uncertainty that we mentioned here on the regulation. But the one thing that I'm able to say that I'm very confident about saying is that this technology would not disappear from the market. It will find another value. There are two different types of value you can get from storage.
Maybe 2 cents on the construction side. I think there's a saying like, failure of imagining failure leads to failure, right? In construction, anything can go wrong. So I think the thing is to think it's too easy. It is hyper complex. I think there was a talk from Theos earlier. Anything can go wrong if you don't look into the very nitty-gritty details when it comes to, sorry about that, when it comes to transformer stations and, you know, substations, and all of these things, like it's complex. It's just super, super complex.
Yeah, as Joachim said, like, construction is hard everywhere in the world, but like, I guess your question is more specific to Germany. I would say, like, in Germany, what we face a lot is, again, at the permitting level, because when we are negotiating with the Auftraggeber, they don't have enough time to get those permits and also put the orders at the same time, because as I mentioned, like for the power transformer, we are talking about 18 to 24 months. We start design, we sign a contract, what we always put there something. If the permitting gets done, this project will be executed. We start design, we are spending time on a design, and then, no, there is no permission. And 2 projects has been canceled like that. And once you just like manage that, then you have the problems. Maybe it's not specific to Germany, but like the supply chain problems, also the lead times. Those are the problems, I would say, specific to Germany, but maybe in some other lands also you can face with them. Yeah. Any other questions? I guess that's it. Thank you so much. Maybe I can just wrap up with 1-2 sentences. Ah, there's another one up there, if we still have time.
Just a quick one. Sven Ambrecht from 𝐒𝐭𝐫𝐴 Solar. I have one question regarding product selection, especially in terms of the commercial storage. It's still quite new, at least also for us now. We're also entering now the C&I segment, and in solar models, of course, this bankability of overviews are there. Can you give us a quick overview? It's for us currently a big barrier in order to get some main criteria in terms of product selection, and especially then also bringing that product selection into the, let's say, cash flow perspective, because also here in a time frame of 10 years, of course, there's some expectation behind that this product can also work like it is on the power data sheet. Thank you.
Anyone would like to? Yep, please for it.
No, I was thinking product selection. Anoucheh, I was looking at you. Yeah. I can talk about the commercial.
Okay, this is sharing experience. I would say we have developed projects with different integrators, so we don't have exclusivity with any type of integrator. We have 5, 6 integrators with which we have a track record now, of which I would say 1 is now blacklisted. The rest are now conform to the expectations that we have in terms of reliability, but, and especially reliability in the operations and maintenance. This is where the difference is made, and this is where you see the difference. So, in the in the design and the construction phase, and bring the product there, it's very easy, and we don't see any big difference between them. But what we see is really the quality of the follow-up in the operations and maintenance, in the scheduling, in the also in the ability to really integrate different components and different control systems. And I will say here, We learned painfully from experience, but because also this branch is pretty new and everyone was learning together. And now I would say these products are at the more mature stage and you can really make a decision based on the track record. I would really look at the past experience and I would actually ask around to developers who worked with these products what their opinions are. I would bluntly ask the client directly if they're satisfied with the components and the integrators.
Thank you. Yeah, please, Farid.
I think the CNI sector for battery behind the meter is definitely going to be more and more interesting and emerging. Why we say this? Because there's a regulation reform in Germany which is basically gonna incentivize the CNI sector to have a flexible consumption pattern. Today, the grid fee for CNI customers says that if you keep a base load, you get a grid fee reduction of 90%. They're still in discussion if they shift this to something called like a flexible grid fee where it will be reduced if you're following the pattern of your local generation. So if you put a lot of solar on your rooftop as a CNI, and if you have a battery, you can in addition save a lot on your grid fee. So what you have to do is you have to know how to assess the business case for these batteries behind the meter. You can also combine this with arbitrage in the intraday market. You need to find the optimizer who can do intraday continuous trading for behind the meter batteries. There are a couple of them who can do it. And then you go and you pitch to the CNI customer, listen, I have all the right partners, I have the optimizer, I know what's your business case, I have the products, I've talked with Abowind, and I come to you and I have the pitch. I think it's important to understand all these factors, but there's a business case emerging, and it will be an exciting sector to focus on because utility scale will eventually dampen.
I guess no more questions.
Sorry, I think the time is up.
Okay, then thank you so much for listening us and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you for our moderator and all of